Hello. Good morning. Thank you for the happy birthdays. Hello, Ryu. Hello, David. Yes, Arlie, you finished your breakfast and now you must scream, huh? As is always the case. How is everyone today? I hope you're all doing okay. Having a good day. I'll be honest and say I have no clue what we're gonna do today. I thought about doing some Stardew, but I wasn't sure if that was what I wanted to do or what, anyone would want to do. I also thought about like some other cozy games, but I didn't feel like making a thumbnail that was any more effort than what I put in for the one that I made. Thank you for the happy birthdays. Thank you, Ryu. I really appreciate that. Sending you so much freaking love is not even funny. Thank you. I definitely need it. It's surreal, man. I kind of can't believe it's my birthday. It's very strange to me that it's somehow another year has passed. Yeah, it's wild. Because it's, a year ago I was employed, believe it or not. I had a full-time job. And this year, I don't know what I'm doing, or what I will do, or what there is to come. So I guess, yeah. guess we'll go ahead and switch scenes. Again, I don't really have anything. Again, I still don't know what we're doing. So this is the stream. This is the screen we've got for right now, guys. What do you guys think? What should we do? Should we play a game? Should we play some kind of game? Should we just sit here and talk? I don't have too terribly long. I have like hour and a half. If you saw that I was gonna go live earlier, no you didn't. That's a lie. Not true. I might have rescheduled it a couple of times so I could sleep a little bit later. I had some very strange dreams last night, so was feeling kind of ugh this morning, you know. Thin line between accountability and self-blame. Oh, ain't that the truth? And that is such a hard line to figure out, am I right? Like, that's a really rough one. Weird. Like, if you're in dreams, like, what kind of, like, fun, weird, or weird? I'd say weird, for sure. Yeah, definitely weird. Like, for some reason, a lot of it was like, obviously, like, definitely symbolic. Like, there was like a crazy ex, like an insane ex, like, not, so like my ex-husband is like an asshole, but he's not like insane. But like this dream had like an ex trying to like kill me, which is horrifying. But I was in the house that my grandmother lived in when I was growing up, which she has been, this year will be 18 years since she died. So that's also very strange. That the dream was based in that house. Because usually when I have those kinds of dreams, they're in the house that I grew up in, which my parents have not lived in almost 10 years. So that was definitely really strange. Birthdays do not mean that spam calls do not come. Let me tell you that. That was the rant that I was going to go on, Rio, the other day, by the way. The rant that I was going to go on, and I don't want it to come across as offensive to you because I know that you live in India. And I would like to believe that you know me well enough to know that I'm not a horrible person, and so you know that I don't like actually mean this as derogatory towards an entire nation. But I have talked to, like, I would say that most of the recruiters that cold call me are in India. They are working for companies here, but they don't speak great English, so they don't understand the jobs that they're calling me for. Like, they don't understand the descriptions. They have not been given enough information about the jobs. So the candidates that they call who do have questions, they don't know how to answer them, or they misunderstand the questions, and they think that the person misunderstood them. So multiple of them have, it's usually men, they have insulted me or something like that, they're very rude. And again, they usually just don't fully understand kind of anything that's going on. Hang on, I am getting an actual recruiter call, so I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, guys. I'm so sorry. So it was a recruiter. It was a recruiter asking for a reference for someone I worked with years ago, actually. So that kind of, for me, it stinks, but you know, hopefully for that person, it goes well. You know, putting some positive energy out there, I guess, maybe. But yeah, like I was saying, like, I've asked recruiter connections that I have in the past about these cold calls that I get from recruiters, and lately especially the most frustrating thing I think is like spam calls have become more of a thing. They kind of dropped off for a while and now they're back in full force of like, hey, we're calling about your TV provider, your internet provider. We're calling about all these different things, and usually they're very rude because I try to be polite to them as I can, as I have the energy to be polite to them. And I tell them like, hey, usually they'll call and they'll be like, we're calling from your cable provider. And I'm like, I don't have cable. And I try to be polite about that. And I would say 90% of the time, they literally just hang up and they don't say anything, which it's like, I totally get, but at the same time, I'm rude. So, whatever. But it's like, I wish that a lot of these recruitment companies understood how similar they are and the energy that they give off that is way too similar to these spam calls. And a lot of the recruiter calls that are from those companies that are recruiting overseas like that are getting marked as spam now. On top of the fact that, like, we're in 2025. I would like to think that cold calling should be a thing of the past. It's very frustrating to kind of get a cold call because a lot of times I would say that for the actual very professional recruiters who this is actually their industry, they're very professional. They either message me on LinkedIn or they send me an email to set up a time to call to make sure that I will actually be available and able to like prepare for that call. Cold calls, I can't prepare. I don't have just an elevator, like maybe, you know, some people would say that I should just have an elevator pitch ready, but I don't. And if I'm in the middle of something when they call, you know, like if I'm streaming or whatever. But for some of them, especially the cold callers, for a lot of them, if I like decline the call, instead of leaving a message, they just call back instantly. Rickroll them after stringing them along for a bit. I definitely get people who like, I understand people who do that, and I think that it's hilarious. I just don't have the energy to. Like I'm at the point where I don't have that energy anymore. I'm so tired. But I asked a couple of I've asked 2 recruiters, 2 of whom have helped me get jobs in the past. One of them was wonderful. She's still wonderful. And I just asked her, I was like, can I be really candid about this question? I'm so frustrated. And I was like, are they doing this because it's cheaper? Just straight up. And she said, and she was like, yes, to be honest, yes, we can hire, 20 people in India for, the cost of one person here in the US. So it's much cheaper. And it's definitely just quantity over quality when it comes to that kind of thing. She's like, my company trains people. They give them the proper training. Like to make sure that they are at least knowledgeable, but she's like, a lot of the other companies don't. They're kind of just grabbing 20 to 30 plus people who are willing to do cold calls and, get paid for whatever. And they just do it. And I'm like, not only is that not getting you good candidates, there are probably candidates that are getting passed over or just not getting a fair shot because the recruiter who spoke with them is not able to represent them properly, or they did not have the opportunity to represent themselves to their recruiter properly. And 90% of the time, if I am answering these calls, I'll get 4 or 5 calls from different recruiters in a single day for the exact same position because it just got posted. And then it's a toss-up of like, okay, only one of you can represent me legally. Like, only one of you can present me to this company for this job. I don't really trust any of these 5, if I'm being honest, right? Like, and then a lot of these jobs, they require certain information. A lot of the jobs themselves, when these companies are putting them out there and hire and paying these recruiting companies to do this stuff, the jobs themselves require certain personal information to put you into the system, right? They require first, last name, they require birthday, they require the last 4 digits of your social security number, which in the US, your social security number is assigned to you at birth. That is your one identification number. That's how people steal your identity. Like, your social security number is how people steal your identity. So, like, while as someone who is on the job market and has been on the job market, I understand that those things are required, but it is very disconcerting when people who, and again, this is where I know it gets like kind of hazy with like, what is Kiko saying here? Because like, it feels very disconcerting for me when someone who sounds exactly like the guy who just called me about my non-existent cable is asking for my social security number, or the last 4 digits of my social security number. On top of the fact that I don't love talking on the phone, I absolutely hate being cold called. It makes me upset. It's a TISM thing. I know that it's a TISM thing. And a lot of times, at this point, I've just, if I'm giving them a chance at all, I'm like, you have my email because you found me through something. And so my phone number and my email were definitely listed. Email me this. Honestly, I just don't like, at that point, like, the thing is, these people, like, I get that, and I think that it is funny in a lot of senses, but some of these people, especially these recruiters, they're just trying to make money like anybody else. They're just trying to do a job to put food on the table, you know? So I don't really want to. Most of the time, they're not intentionally being jerks. Now, the scammers, yeah, do whatever with the scammers, right? The ones who are working for the scam companies. But the ones who are working for recruitment companies, they're just doing a job. And they're just trying to get by. And I really don't want to be an asshole to them because they probably encounter, you know, plenty of assholes. So my opinion is like, I'm not trying to be another one of the millions of assholes out there. The entire point of my specific field is to try to improve experiences. And so, and that encompasses all of them. And if I, you know, ended up in a job like that, just trying to, you know, get by, I wouldn't want that happening to me. Like, I wouldn't want to just be trying to do my job that's given to me like that and get, you know, I don't want asshole. Like, that's why I absolutely have always hated working in retail, because people are assholes for literally no reason. Like, they just, and it's my problem with people in general, of like being just opening with being a dick to someone who is just trying to do their job. So it's like, I usually preface, like, even when I'm really frustrated, like if I'm talking to like customer service or I'm talking to whatever, I really try hard to preface and like let them know, like, hey, my frustration is not with you specifically, and I'm really sorry if it came off that way. Like, I don't want to ruin your day. I don't want to like take my frustration out on you, because like I would hate that happened to me. I do hate when that happens to me. Because that sucks. No one wants that. Like, I mean, it's happened multiple times when I'm like on the phone with somebody for like whatever reason, because something didn't work right or whatever, and I'm just talking to them, and I'm like, I remember one time I was getting really short with somebody, and I was like, and I had to like take a deep breath, and I was like, I'm really sorry. I am very frustrated, but you are not the cause of my issue, and I want to like make sure that you know I know that, and that I want to make sure that like I don't like, I just want you to know, like, I'm not mad at you, and I really hope that I'm not being a jerk to you or coming across that way, because like I would hate that. And it's like I people call me naive, people say I trust people too much and whatever, but like that's the kind of energy that I would like to be met with, so I try to put it out there. So that's what it is, you know? It is what it is. Does that actually get me anywhere? I don't really know. I mean, maybe it puts some positive energy out there in the world for me. I guess so far, technically, probably not, because nothing has really come my way. But I don't know. You know? You never know. Why be a schlong? But the only reason I could think is that you are what you eat. Listen, as I've said before, everybody's got an asshole doesn't mean you gotta be one. Hitting the weights is a good fix for this sort of frustration. I mean, I won't deny that working out in general is just, it is healthy, and it is a good way to get frustration out. It's a good way to get negative energy out of your body. I'll admit, like, I know I need to work out more, just in general. I need to be more active in general. Like, I mean, I spent 10 plus years as a gymnast, working out 20 plus hours a week. Definitely took how good of shape I was for granted. When I was an undergrad, I was in really good shape. But because I had access to the rec center, it was part of my tuition, so why not go, right? So I went to the rec center like really regularly. I was in very good shape. I got myself back down to like a 10-minute mile type thing when I was on the treadmill. That's been a very long time. That's been a very, very long time. So like, I definitely need to get back in shape. I just also need to get to where I'm eating enough to where I can sustain that kind of thing, because I'm definitely not eating enough, because like you need to be able to afford groceries. Which right now I can't. Which I will say, this evening I'm gonna go over to my brother's. I'm gonna spend this evening with my brother and his family. So my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nieces and stuff. Their kids, like my nieces, my nephew, all of that stuff. So that's gonna be really nice, and it's gonna be really. I'm really looking forward to spending time with them. But he texted me this morning, and he was like, "Happy birthday! You know, what do you want for dinner tonight when you come over? And his next question was, do you need groceries? Like, so I really appreciate that from him. Because, I will say this is the first time in my life first time since I moved out when I was 18, throughout all the years, that my parents, but like my mom, she's the main one I talk to, has not offered to help me with groceries. And it's not that I'm expecting it. It's just very jarring that she I think she thinks I'm expecting them to bail me out. Which I'm not, because they can't. And I think she's frustrated with me because the last time we spoke, she essentially spent the entire call just being like, I don't understand how it's been almost a year since you got fired and you don't have a full-time job again yet. And she doesn't understand the job market. And I think she forgets, because my industry has always been difficult. I mean, when I graduated, it was hard to get a job. It's been kind of a struggle ever since. Like, I mean, just having a job, right? So she definitely just doesn't understand why I don't have one, why I haven't been able to find one. But I think she also forgets my brother pointed out, he was like, the rest of the family does not seem to understand how much you've been through in the past year. They're like, my oldest brother is very much the same way. Of life is hard, life sucks, pick yourself up and keep going. And my other brother was kind of like, when he talked to me not long, like last week or the week before, he was like, the rest of the family does not seem to be acknowledging and understanding how much you've been through. And he's right. I mean, he was like, nobody else in the family has gotten divorced, so they don't know. Like, they don't know what it's like. The rest of the family didn't get, not only have they not been divorced, but they haven't been fired within a few months of getting divorced. And what it comes down to, shatter. Yeah, I mean, it basically has broken me, if I'm being honest. what it comes down to, and it finally kind of came out like in actual words the last time I talked to my mom. She never wanted me to get married in the first place. She didn't want me with him. No one in the family told me that. I asked every single one of them what they thought of him before I married him. Not a single one of them was honest with me. Like, they were glad when I got divorced. Which, in a lot of senses, is like, yeah, it's good. It's good that I got divorced. It's good that I'm out of that. It was very toxic. It was very unhealthy. I was very unhappy. But at the same time, they don't seem to understand. They see that it's good that you're out of that marriage. They don't see the toll that it took to get out of that marriage. But it finally, like, my mom finally kind of said, you know, well, you just never should have married him in the first place. And it's like, it's not that simple, obviously. Sort of going through a divorce right now too, I can relate. Divorce sucks. Divorce sucks. Like, I'm the youngest in the family. By a long shot. I was the last to get married. I am the only one divorced. And I don't think any of them can understand like how toxic and unhealthy that relationship truly was. Wasn't not what I wanted, not how I saw my 30s going, but that's the way it goes. Sometimes you get complicated relationship and shit goes south. Yeah, I mean, narcissists are very good at hiding that they're narcissistic until they have you trapped. I'm not going to just sit here and diagnose my ex-husband with narcissistic personality disorder. I know people who, like, I try to be as fair as possible. I really do try to just, like, not shit talk. Like, straight up just shit talk. The simplest answer is that we were just not good for each other. A slightly more complex answer was that nothing was ever going to be good enough for him. Expanding a little further on that was he wanted a wife who would just do... He wanted a wife in name and title who would essentially be his ornament. He wanted to be able to say that he was married and that he had a wife. To him, that was an achievement. Like, I think for him, it was like achievement unlocked, he got married. He did not want anyone. He was never okay with any kind of disagreement. And, like, I'll admit, I can be argumentative, I can be stubborn. There are absolutely times when I should have picked my battles. By the end of our marriage, I didn't have the energy or the care or the will to do it. For the first few years, I was an absolute doormat because it was easier that way. It was easier that when a disagreement turned into a fight, for me to kind of just be like, okay, fine, it's my fault. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. And accept it. And that got him to calm down. It got him to stop yelling, and we moved on. For the longest time, I believed that abuse could only be physical. And that's not true. I realized over time, and I've realized more since the divorce, how often he manipulated me and how trained I had become to understand that these kinds, like certain behaviors received very, very negative feedback. Therefore, don't do these behaviors because they upset him, they make him angry. He never threw things at me. He threw them in my direction. He never... He broke things. You know, he never hurt a person, you know, but he broke possessions and items, and later it was pointed out to me by someone else that he never broke things that were his, he broke things that were mine. As soon as there was any kind of disagreement, if I had any kind of logical explanation or argument, he just called me a child and moved on. If he thought he was losing an argument, he threatened me with divorce. He basically said, well, if this is just how our marriages get, like, do you want to end up divorced? Because these disagreements are how we end up divorced. He refused to go to marriage counseling with me because he didn't want homework. He specifically said, I don't want to go to counseling because I don't want them to give me homework. I told him very explicitly and specifically in a very serious conversation that we were not going to be having children until we fixed what was going on between the two of us, because children were only going to complicate things, and I was not going to bring a child into a loveless marriage, into a loveless home, until I knew that, like, I wasn't going to bring a child into anything until I knew that both of us were in a state where we could properly take care of them and love them. And definitely near the end, he started trying to push for children because he thought that would fix it, or it would trap me. He definitely kept talking about kids a lot. Not trying to make light of the situation, but the chat is filled with people who have personal experience with divorce. Your bio, I was abusive, leaving him his best decision your mom ever made, so proud and grateful. Gaslighting and manipulation control is all abuse. Yeah, absolutely. So, I will say financial, like, there's also financial abuse. My best friend has a friend, my best friend had someone in her PhD cohort who, her ex-husband was financially abusive, so he was purposefully bad with money, so that, you know, there was no savings. So we had no savings. I tried to make us a budget. I tried to, you know, keep track of everything, and he wouldn't look at it. And he would get really upset about certain things. If he would be like, well, I'm going to do this, and I'd be like, well, did you check the budget before you did that? And he would get really angry. And I spent too. I am not faultless. Like, obviously, we both spent money. But I will definitely say, like, there were times when, right after we got married, when I was working at a coffee shop, kind of like I am now, my paycheck for working, you know, I'd work a 50-hour, 60-hour paycheck, right? And it'd be like less than $200, like it'd be like $300 max. And I remember coming home from like working an 8-hour shift at the coffee shop, and he had bought himself a $300 chair. And I remember walking in and seeing it, and him like being like, look at what I got, like, look what I got for myself. And I remember the first thought I had was that chair cost more than what my paycheck is. And he was not making, like, he was still in grad school at the time, so he was getting paid like as a grad assistant, but it wasn't like he was bringing in the big bucks. You know, I made purchases, but he definitely made the big purchases. And then, yeah. I fairly admit my faults in my own relationship. It takes two. Generally, however, the whole experience has been very enlightening and an opportunity for improvement. Absolutely. Like, I've tried very hard to remind myself, multiple times, like, I mean, over the past year especially, that like, even if everything was my fault, doesn't matter anymore. The best I can do is identify where I went wrong, things that I can improve, things that I can do better. Since the divorce, I have had a budget. Well, it's more of an expense tracker. It's more the expense tracker. But I've tracked my expenses to the penny. And when I was employed, especially when I was employed, like, and honestly, even being unemployed, I have done a very good job of minimizing my debt and expenses as much as I can. Like, I'm not just out here spending all of my money on things. I'm getting essentials when I can. I'm paying my bills as best I can. But I will say the first thing that he did after the divorce finalized was buy himself a new truck. No, I don't know where he got the money to do that. But that was the first thing he did. And he would say that it was my fault that he hadn't gotten a new truck sooner. I'm sure that's what he told people. I'm sure that he told people that I was bad with money, and that he was able to get a new truck because I was no longer weighing him down. The bank gave it to him. You know, you're right. He'd absolutely, yeah. Like, I had to get a lawyer for our divorce. No kids, no assets. We had shared debt, right? We had shared credit card debt. But I had to have a lawyer because he was just so difficult about every little thing. People are house poor, but he's truck poor. And that was the thing too, is he went about a year and a half before our divorce, we were talking about a house. And I'm really glad we did not get one. Like, we were renting. We didn't like buy a house. We didn't get a mortgage or anything like that. So I'm very, very glad. Oh, I mean, I would say that 99% of people do not own their cars. Most people can't walk in and just say, here's $30,000, here's $40,000 for a car. They put a down payment down and then they pay a car payment for, you know, $400 or $500 a month. It's not their car. I mean, and that's how the economy works right now. Unfortunately, that's just how the economy is. I mean, mortgages, car loans, that kind of thing. You do what you need, and with how things are, you do what you have to do. Like, eventually, unless you're someone who just, you know, chronically buys cars every few years, which a lot of people do. A lot of people do get a different car every few years. They upgrade, they trade in, they, you know, whatever. So you just trade in, and then your car payment is just your loan, and all of that stuff is just switched over to the new car. Yeah, it's usually a percentage. So especially for houses as well. For houses, they want you to try to do like at least. They say at least 10% down on a house for a mortgage, at least. And then for a car, yeah, ideally you want to do a percentage. And it's like, it's not ideal. Sometimes you have to do it though. Like if you don't have a vehicle, and you need a vehicle and you cannot afford a vehicle outright, you do what you can, right? He got a brand new truck. I think his was like last year, 2024. I think his was like a 2024 truck. He was never okay with like getting a used car. I'm fine with having a used car. The car that I have was a used car when I got it. It's paid off now. But he wasn't okay with, paying, a total of $5,000 or $6,000 less, possibly even $10,000 less over time. I mean, there are just some people who genuinely cannot afford to do anything else. Then do that. I think, yeah, most people, that's just what it is. It's like, well, if the car that you have is no longer meeting your needs, then you do what you have to. Debt obviously isn't ideal. I would love to not be in debt right now, but it is what it is. I didn't have $10,000 of savings to pay for a lawyer because we had no savings, because my ex-husband did not know how to not spend money at all. And it was, for him, he made big purchases, but he also made little purchases very frequently. So it was lunch every single day. Thank you for the happy birthday. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Like the house we were renting, granted, right now, if you can, owning a house, having a mortgage, if you can, a mortgage in, I would say probably 7 out of 10 cases is going to end up being, at least in the States, it's going to be cheaper than renting. You have a return on investment with that kind of thing. But it just depends on the stage of life that you're in. We were renting a house. Our rent was higher than my brother's house payment. But that was another thing, was he just, it was like, okay, we're getting a divorce. He just left and left me with the $2,000 rent by myself. He pieced out took whatever stuff he wanted, left what he didn't want. A lot of his own stuff. Or stuff that we'd gotten together. Left it behind. Went and got, you know, a rent that was $1,000 a month cheaper and left me with that house rent and repairs to make when I moved out finally. So, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Kiko, not gonna lie, your ex makes me want to introduce him to my friend the night. Yeah, I mean, he's an ass. He always will be an ass. I don't think that will change. What would have been our wedding anniversary last year, I found out he went on a date on our wedding anniversary. Less than 3 months after the divorce was final. So, I mean, throughout the entire process, he claimed that was not what he wanted. He claimed he didn't want to get a divorce. He started dating a couple months later, though. And I don't have any desire to date. I don't. Would it be nice to have a companion? Absolutely, but that's not. His opinion will always be that the divorce and every issue in our marriage was my fault, and therefore he has nothing to work on. So I feel sorry for whoever ends up dating him long term. Because he'll find somebody else. He can't be alone. Serious note, he sounds worse than my sperm donor. Hate that guy and curse him on a daily. Yeah, he I do not think that at his core he is a bad person. I think that his life experiences and his traumas and how his family is and how he was raised made him believe that anybody who hurts him deserves to be hurt in return and does not deserve any kind of kindness. That is just the kind of person that he is. His family is definitely eye for an eye kind of family. He is not the kind of person that he does not understand the concept of unconditional love. He also does not understand the concept of the possibility that if someone did something that hurt you, it is not necessarily intentional. And the difference between someone who intentionally hurt you and someone who didn't is someone who is sorry and tries not to hurt you in that way again, versus someone who is unrepentant, does not care, and does not try, to avoid doing that again. He was very much, if I did or said something that upset him, he retaliated. No matter what. At least him and I are different there. I feel like the majority of this is my fault and I want nothing more than to fix my issues. So the thing, I mean, admitting fault is great. And wanting to fix your own issues is great. I think that self-improvement is a good thing. I've been in therapy for years, trying to figure my own stuff out. But I spent our entire marriage believing every little issue was my own fault. And if I just got better, then things would be okay. And it took so long for me to finally understand that no matter what I did, no matter how much better I got, it was never going to be enough for him. And I mean, the man, you know, he's a whole ass adult, full grown man. You can't blame your mom for something she did when you were 3 for every little thing that goes wrong in your life. And that's what he did. But he still does. Absolutely. You cannot, there comes a point in time when your trauma is no longer, it is always valid to have trauma. It is not always valid to use that trauma as an excuse to mistreat other people. It is never okay for that. I'm a big advocate for your feelings are valid, your actions are not. Your feelings are always valid, but your actions based on those feelings, absolutely not. If your actions because of those feelings are purposely hurting other people, absolutely not valid at all. You just aren't making excuses for him because you were willing to stand by him and hold his hand through bettering himself, and he refused. He didn't want to work on himself, and that ain't on you. I mean, yeah, that's why that is one of the things that opened my eyes to being like, I can't be in this marriage anymore, because I finally realized that his trauma was not my responsibility. It was not my responsibility to bear the burden of him being completely unable and unwilling to accept the very idea of anything being his fault. But yeah, I mean, it's just, we're also autistic, Ryu. My autism falls under the high empathy, high justice autism. So highly empathetic, but highly justice driven as well. I also never want to be seen as the person who just sits here and blames everybody else for my own problems. Because nobody likes that person, for one. But it's not realistic, it doesn't help me. Also trying to acknowledge to myself and be a little bit nicer to myself of the fact that I've been in pure survival mode for the past at least 5 years. Doesn't look like that's going to end anytime soon, and I don't know what it looks like for that to end anyway, so, you know. I mean, the thing was, when I got fired, it hadn't even been 6 months since the divorce, but I had already been able to, get a few thousand saved up. I went from having no savings to a few thousand in just a couple of months of being divorced from him. So that can tell you something, right? I mean, kind of peeves me that you still sometimes say he didn't know how to be better. He doesn't know condition. It's not even so. I will rephrase that. It's not that. So he doesn't know unconditional love. He doesn't understand the concept of unconditional love. I will keep that one because he doesn't. I will say he had no desire to, and that was where the problem was. He had no desire to learn. He had no desire to be better. He had no desire to get better. He believed that everything was on me. He believed that I needed to be the one to be better and get better. He said the words to me when I suggested therapy for him, just for him to get past some of the trauma that he had. He looked me in the eye and he said, "Why should I get better for someone who never will?" Which is cruel, incorrect, and not the reason you get better. You get better for yourself. You get better because you want to be happy. He doesn't want to be happy. He wants to be miserable and have an excuse to be miserable. He believes that his misery is a badge of honor he can use to blame other people for. He has a list of people that he blames, and I'm on that list. But I've told my therapist, I've told many people, I'm angry. I'm in my anger phase. I'm still very angry. I'm hurt, and I'm still trying to process everything. Which it's barely been a year, so I feel like that's actually a very fair timeline because everybody grieves and figures things out in their own timeline. But I do want to get to a place where I don't think about him. I don't care. Where the things that he did, the things that he said, they don't affect me anymore. I want to get to that place because I do want to be happy. Like, I want to go to a place where he does not affect me anymore because he does not deserve that space in my life. People who hurt you do not deserve to take up space in your life after they are no longer in it. Because it does nothing for you and your growth and your happiness. But it is not so simple as to say that and feel it. It takes effort. It takes a lot of processing. It takes forgiving yourself and, in a sense, forgiving them. It's forgiving people for things that they will never apologize for, but you're not forgiving them for them, you're forgiving them for you so that that does not weigh on you anymore. Again, easier said than done. A lot easier said than done. And my therapist laughs a lot because we'll talk about stuff, and she'll kind of chuckle, and she's like, "We're not ready for trauma processing yet. We're not ready for that." She's like, "You are not in a place. You're not physically or emotionally in a place where you can do trauma processing right now. You are not in a safe enough place." It takes a lot of strength to admit when you're wrong. Absolutely, it does. It takes a lot of strength, and it takes a lot of self-awareness. I absolutely have flaws. I'm never going to. I will never, ever, ever, ever say that the divorce or the problems in my marriage were solely on my ex-husband. We absolutely both had flaws. I absolutely had things that I could have done better. There are absolutely instances where I should have chosen my words more carefully, should have backed off, should have, like they say that not every hill is worth dying on, and I struggle with that a lot. I absolutely struggled with that. I still do. And it's something that I need to work on. I think that my biggest flaw, I think that one of my biggest flaws was allowing I think one of my biggest flaws was allowing too much space for the abuse and not standing up for myself. In that, in favor of conflict avoidance, I just let things build, and I let my frustrations build until eventually I would get too frustrated to hold it in any longer, and it was always the wrong time for those frustrations to come out. Now, on the flip side of that, I will also say that I think with him, any time was the wrong time for my frustrations to be voiced. Because if they were not what he wanted to hear, then it was the wrong time, and it was never what so if it wasn't something that he wanted to hear, then it was not a good time. And anything that was, not exactly what he wanted from life was not what he wanted to hear. That's fair. That's definitely fair. Like, there comes a point when I think a good analogy is like when you push an animal into a corner, there comes a point where they are going to fight back. And I think that in a lot of cases ended up what it was, where I couldn't take it anymore. But again, it is what it is. Just a second. Yeah. Here we are, though. I mean, if we want to talk about some of the funny stuff, I will say, one thing that, it's sad, but it does make me laugh. It always makes people laugh. Because one of the things that he would say, One of the things that he would say was, if someone implied that he'd said something, you know, out of pocket, he would respond with, well, I'm not racist, I married an Asian. And I remember my mother, and I want to say this, my mother, while she is struggling right now to understand my situation, I love my mother, and she is a genuinely wonderful person. Like my mom is a truly wonderful person, and she loves me more than, you know, she loves me. She loves all of us. But I mean, the thing is that she is set in her ways, and she genuinely doesn't understand, and so she's doing what she can. She's doing what she thinks is right, and because she does want me to be happy. She wants me to be happy. She wants me to be happy, healthy, safe, all of those things. But she is very concerned. I think that my mom's biggest flaw right now is that she is so concerned and so worried for me that she is letting her concern and her anxiety fuel her actions instead of taking a step back and thinking about it genuinely rationally and thinking about what would actually help me. I think that is her biggest flaw right now. But it's funny because, like, my mom raised all of us to be and she is definitely this, like, well, think about it from all sides. Think about it from, you know, what could you have done better? Absolutely, like, one of the reasons I am the way that I am. But I think it's really funny because when I told her that he had said that, when I told her that he had said, well, I'm not racist, I married an Asian, she went really quiet. And then she finally goes, isn't that something a racist person would say? And I remember, yes, mother. Good job. Okay, but why did that make you twirl? Because it's funny, Ryu. That's why. Because the complete lack of self-awareness is funny. I'm not racist, I married an Asian. It is very funny. It's funny. I'm not racist, I'm married an Asian. It's funny. It's funny. Why is it funny? Who knows, bro? Woo! I've got about 30 more minutes though. So what do you... like give or take, probably maybe closer to 20 actually. I mean, we can just sit here, we can chat. We could try to play a game for a little bit. It wouldn't be very long. We could do something. What should we do, guys? If I'm able to, I work tomorrow. I open tomorrow. I would like to try to stream though. It would be, again, Ryu, it would be late for you. It would be starting an hour from now. So that's pretty late for you. And I know you want to be here live. And so I don't want to like start super late and then have you staying up too late. That's how most millennials and early Gen Z just cry on our birthdays. Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if you saw the title that I have for tomorrow, for the next Stardew stream though, Ryu. I cackled, I giggled. If I don't stream tomorrow, I would stream Thursday. I don't work Thursday. Think I won't stay up late free. Yes, but Ryu, that's not healthy. I don't want you to put your health on the line for that. As someone who is as of today, especially getting older, sleep deprivation is one of the leading causes of poor memory and other issues, other health issues. But care more about your health while you're young, Ryu. I know you're not that much younger than me. And you said you're 20, 33, 4? 23? I have insomnia. I mean, same. Actually, no, I don't think it's I don't think it's insomnia. I think it's depression. There are quite a few games that I kind of eventually want to play on here that we do like on the non-Stardew days. So one of them, it's an older game. I don't even remember what year it came out. I would need to look. What year did this come out? So one of the games that I kind of want to play came out in 2020. Another one, I've played it before. Oh my gosh, this game came out in 2018. Now granted, we're playing Stardew a lot, so like, grab your guys' scruff and give you the advice like an old timer. Is that what we're doing here? Yeah, well remember, Kiko hasn't really had a boomer moment recently, so maybe it's time for a Kiko boomer moment, you know? There's a game that I want to play. It came out in 2018 called, I don't know how they pronounce it, Gris. Gris. I've played it before. It is very good. It's a I don't really even know how to describe it. Let me look at the description. I'll look at it. It says, Gris is a hopeful young girl lost in her own world. Dealing with a painful experience in her life, her journey through sorrow is manifested in her dress, which grants her new abilities to better navigate her fated reality. Again, it came out in 2018. I played it years ago on my Switch, knowing absolutely nothing about it. And I loved it. When I played it originally, I knew nothing about it. So I was figuring out the symbolism as I was playing it, which I think it was beautiful. Another one that I want to play, I've never played it, but I've seen all of it, is A Symbol with Care. It came out in 2020. It's a really cozy one. It's fully voice acted too, which is really cool. The demo that we played for Undusted reminded me of A Symbol with Care. Graduated high school in 2018. Don't say that. Or you don't say that. That makes me feel very old. Another one that I want to play is, this one came out this year, actually. Minami Lane. Oh, it came out last year. My bad. That's my bad. It came out last year. Is it still early access? No, it is not. It is no longer in early access. Minami Lane is one I want to play. Eventually. Spirit Tea is one I want to play. That's been out for like 2-3 years now. 2023, yeah, came out in 2023. It is, from what I know of it, it is Spirited Away and Stardew Valley. Would love to play that. Obviously, I want to play the Coffee Talk games, since we played the demo for Coffee Talk Tokyo. I think a fun one to play would be Strange Horticulture. The sequel, quote unquote, I think for that, or a follow-up for that called Strange Antiquities is going to come out, I think, this year. The demo is out for that. I'd love to play Strange Horticulture because it's a very fun, cozy one. It'd be cool eventually. There's another cool game, I don't know too much about it, called Do No Harm. Came out this year, earlier this year. Lovecraftian doctor simulator. Diagnose patients by analyzing unsettling symptoms and treat them using your book of medicine. Make moral choices, decide who to save or kill. Discover whom to trust and unlock multiple endings. Can you endure 30 days of perilous decisions? I think that'd be super fun. There's another one that I have never finished. I started playing it for a playthrough on a different channel that y'all will never find. It's great because it's completely different. I don't even think I ever uploaded a video of it either anyway, but like called Death and Taxes. Two things in life are certain, death and taxes, or something like that. It's like the description of it. I think a fun, like, silly one to play could be Cat Cafe Manager. I've had this in my library for a while. Those could be fun. Trying to think here, guys. A fun one could be Astroneer. I mean, it's still getting updated, I think, actually, but it's an older one, but I used to play it a long time ago. Next stream will likely be Stardew, though. Possibly tomorrow. It also depends on how I feel when I get off work. Because opening can be rough. And I think I'm also training someone tomorrow. But yeah, all the positive vibes my way would be great for finding a full-time job that's in my field so that I can get my life back under a little bit more control. I don't necessarily mind training people. It's just I like teaching. I enjoyed teaching when I was in grad school. I coached gymnastics when I was in high school. There's something very satisfying in that to me. But yeah, Stardust has been kind of, I feel like it's been kind of boring today, guys. I'm sorry. A lot of the quote-unquote just chatting streams usually have a cam, but we're not ready for the Kiko face reveal. Maybe someday. Especially not right now. I just saw a stream name. Oh, for tomorrow? For the next Stardew stream? What? Ryu, what's wrong? What's wrong with the stream name for tomorrow? Ryu, what's wrong? This isn't boring. Okay, I mean, I'll believe you. I like validation. Yeah, here. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a joke. I'll tell you a joke I made the other night that made my friends cackle for quite a while. All right, they giggled and chuckled. They had a grand old time with it. Okay. Because I will say I saw a different joke that was millennials who were gifted and talented as children just grew up to have praise kinks as adults. Which I was like, whoo, that's a little bit too harsh and maybe a little bit too true. There's nothing wrong. I'm sure Gojo also loves Ringo's eggs, especially when prepared a certain way. No! No! Also, by the way, Ryu, 3 days ago, I forgot to mention this. Last stream was the 2-year anniversary of Another Level on AO3. Happy 2nd anniversary to Another Level on Archive of Our Own. So that's fun for us. We love that for us, right? I never thought this is something I started writing. I quite literally created that entire thing on a whim. I created Rinko on a whim. Rinko changed a lot throughout the writing process as well. Rinko was a very different character when I first started writing it. So I'm pretty proud of how she turned out. You know, we'll have to ask Rai. We'll ask Rai if they're studying the gifted and talented praise kink correlation. But the other night we were playing games. We were playing Overwatch, and I said something. I don't even remember what I said. But I did something like stupid or silly or whatever, and I like thought for a second, and I was like, you know, for someone with a praise kink, I really don't do shit that gets me praised very often. So here we are. Also, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, Kiko. You're on your period, so that's super fun. Don't you just love having a good birthday while you're bleeding because your uterus is trying to murder itself? Happy 2 years to another level. Yeah, happy 2 years to another level. I never thought I'd be here when I started writing it, that's for sure. Let me see if I can find something. His thing hit me like an attack. Here, Ryu, let's see if I can find. I'm not logged in, but we will reminisce really quickly. I'm not logged in right now on my Tumblr, on my browser. We can reminisce though. Are you ready? You remember this, Ryu? I was so excited to do that. I was so excited to do this. I don't know if you also remember when I did I did those two, but I don't know if you were around when I did the change from Gojo. Rinko and Gojo are friends, are just friends. When I changed it to Gojo and Rinko and Gojo are still just friends. I remember I loved that. I had so much fun with that. Those header changes. One of the OGs. It's crazy. I think I made that big header change. I think the Ringo and Gojo are still just friends was after, I believe, Silence Louder Than Words. But that one's harder to remember. Yes, Arlie? Yes? Can I help you? Yes, my sweet darling. Yeah. Is it... I don't know why you're screaming now. Why must scream? Do you want attention? You don't want attention because when I give you attention, you bite me and you say you don't want attention. Is there when you publish the second or third part of another level? Ah, so you've been around since the very beginning, huh? Oh my gosh. Since the very, very beginning. Wow. That's crazy. It's crazy to think about. It's very crazy to think about. Yes, Ollie. Looking for jobs like before your current gig? Wow. That's crazy. It's been so long. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it also does. An OG fan. I will say one thing that I have an extra. It's starting to feel like a creep. Unless you start telling me you know where I live, I don't find you creepy yet. The extra that someone asked for a very, 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 it's probably been 2 years since someone asked for this extra of the market trip with that Rinko took Megami and the twins on. I have that extra started. I probably need... I probably need to just accept that it can be short and keep going. Arlie, stop. Stop. Quit. She's like, Mom, finish stream right now. I will say their trip to the Kyoto market gets crashed. Someone crashes their trip to the Kyoto market. It's not Gojo, by the way. I need to just finish it. But I will say, here, I'll give you this, and then I'm gonna end. Because I need to prep for therapy. Is it a good crash? It's so it depends on who you ask. I think it depends on who you ask, Ryu. Some people are indifferent. One particular person is irritated. I will here. I'll read you a little bit of what I have for it. And then I'm gonna end. All right. This is right after Back at It Again, I believe, because it's that market trip. So here's what I have. Can we visit that famous shrine too? Rinko fought a snort of amusement when Megami's eye twitched at Yuji's question. Her trip to the market in Kyoto with Megami and the twins had been interrupted when she felt them being watched as they met up with Mai. It had immediately put her on edge, and she had scanned the area with her duplicates only to find the two curious first years following them. While she'd been relieved that the Zane clan didn't have someone following Mai, she'd been slightly annoyed that the teens hadn't just asked to come along. Fushiguro wouldn't tell us where he was going, Yuji defended as Rinko pinched the bridge of her nose. We were curious since he was so secretive. She had snorted at that, shaking her head. It didn't surprise her that Megami was secretive because he'd been that way since the day she'd met him. It's none of your business, Megami snapped, his face turning red. This trip is... He cut off, his eyes darting to Rinko's face, and she smirked. His embarrassment reminded her of the first time she'd taken him to the market. This trip is them humoring me, she finished for him. Come on, let's get something to eat. They sat in the cafe as Yuji and Nobara rattled off the things they wanted to do in Kyoto. Mai leaned her head on Rinko's shoulder hesitantly as Maki rested her chin on her palm. I want to go to the bamboo grove, Nobara added, clenching her fist. I would have already been if not for Okatsu Yuta. What did Yuta have to do with Kyoto? Not to mention that Rinko was almost positive the girl had never even met him. Kugisaki thought the exchange event was going to be in Kyoto, Maki explained, smirking. She's mad because Yuta helped win last year. Okatsu wasn't the only reason they won, Mai snipped, sulking. The third years all lost their individual fights. In their defense, Rinko countered, her throat a bit tight. Toma had a concussion because of Yuta. But I still think he'd have lost even without it. Talking about the event made her wonder about her old students. She made a mental note to inquire about Shizumu Hiroki and Kato Misaki soon. She hoped they were all right. Maybe she could contact Toma's mother too. You used to teach at Kyoto, right? Nobara asked, staring at her curiously. Why did you stop? She sighed at the question, taking a long sip of her coffee as she contemplated her answer. I was fired, she admitted, pursing her lips. Man, what a mirror, isn't it? She was fired around the same time I got fired. They fired me after we lost the event last year. But that isn't fair, Yuji exclaimed. Did they fire you because you lost? It was one of the reasons, she lied, shrugging. It's just how it goes. Hime's doing a great job. You're clearly a better teacher than the blindfolded idiot, Nobara stated absently, checking her cuticles. You should just take over full time. I still live here in Kyoto, Rinko replied, ignoring Megami's quiet snort. And Gojo does fine as your teacher, when he actually teaches, Megami muttered under his breath, and Rinko sent him a warning look. He met her gaze with a bored stare. He does fine when he actually teaches, but he's been busy this year, she reminded. That's all I got for you. What I got. I need to accept that I just need to let it be short. Because I'm okay with what I have so far. I just need to finish it up, you know? I thought it would be really funny to have them crash the trip though, because they would, wouldn't they? They would follow Megami. Takes you back, doesn't it? I needed Kiko, you could author a telephone directory. You know what? All right, I will tell you what. I lied. I will give you one more thing, and this is. Let me find it. It's in here somewhere. I looked at it recently, so it's got to be here up close to the top. Like Gojo eats Rinka. This is let me see if I can find. This is part of my original work. This is part of my original work that I eventually want to publish someday. Let's see, what am I gonna look into? What am I gonna use? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I will read you this part and possibly another, okay? And then I really do have to end. Let's see if I remember how to pronounce some of this. This is from my original work. And let me see if I can find. I will grab this really fast. This goes with this piece, this bit that I'm reading. This piece right here. I made this. It took me way too long. And then, so yeah, you have, give me some context, I have terrible memory. I don't know if you absolutely have to have context for this. We'll see, okay? The little girl's eyes were heavy. Here, hold on, let me turn this down for us. Turn this down for us. Okay. We'll read this and then I really do have to end, I think, after that. The little girl's eyes were heavy, sitting on the lap of her grandfather while he regaled another story of the great war between man and dragons, snuggled against his chest with the covers pulled to her chin. He made her giggle with his silly voices as he mimicked the dragons and roared ridiculously. The 5-year-old would sit and listen, enraptured by his tales of how the dragons gave a select few their blessing and allowed them to harness the breath of the dragons, even as her eyes began to shut of their own accord. His own breath would contain small puffs of smoke as he recounted the few glorious triumphs to her, fire occasionally spewing from his lips when he mimicked a dragon, causing bursts of uncontrollable giggles to escape her, and pushing sleep away for just a moment. Tales of how the Ejderla Khan bravely fought alongside the dragons to try to save them from the fearful, greedy mankind who sought to eradicate the great species, lulled her to sleep each night. She always looked forward to hearing his tales at bedtime, would eagerly crawl beneath her covers with him when the time came, begging for just one more story when he finally told her it was time to sleep. "It's said," he would whisper in her ear as she drifted off to sleep, "that the descendants of the Ejderla Khan were to be reincarnations of history's strongest dragons. But none lived long enough to have children, except him. That's you," he would say, pride in his burning eyes as he smiled down at her content form. "That's what you are, Yavdrum. A very powerful dragon resides in you. It will guide you, help you, protect you." He would smile fondly as he eased out of the bed, tucking her in when her small hands would reach for him. She was the light that gave him hope for the future. When his children were born, he couldn't deny that he had been relieved that none showed signs of the Ejderla Khan he was blessed with. Though by the time he had children, it had been more than 100 years since the war had ended. He still feared what would be done if anyone were to find out what he was. He couldn't bear the thought of his children living in the same fear he felt each morning when he woke. But his fear faded with time. He became complacent, content with his life, his body finally aging as he relaxed into the life of happiness and love with his family. And then his granddaughter, the daughter of his eldest son, was born with the same fire in her eyes that burned in his own, steam rising from her skin and smoke falling from her lips with every newborn cry she released. He'd felt nothing but pure pride at the sight. The first and only descendant of an Ejderla Khan to possess the blessing, born into a world that had by now long forgotten their existence and what they could do. He'd been overjoyed to see her, to hold her, to hear from his son that they had decided to name her after the fire that burned in her eyes. Aliva, flame. Fire that lit the world around him beyond what he had ever dreamed. She was and forever would be his guiding light in the darkness that had for so long encapsulated him. The stories he told her weren't appropriate for a child, his son would scold him. He couldn't help it. Her bright eyes, filled with the excited fire of his old companions, compelled him, and he could never bring himself to say no when she requested a story, or when she requested anything of him, especially an extra cookie after dinner when her mother and grandmother weren't looking. While he worried for her, he believed that mankind had forgotten of his kind's existence. He believed she would be able to live a life of peace, just like the dragons had desired when they made their promise. But peace, he realized, never lasted. Not long after his 200th birthday, Aliva, still just a child of 7 years, a man in their village learned of his true nature. Having seen through the window of their home the flames that burst from the older man's lips when he regaled the stories to his granddaughter, the village learned the truth of the old man that kept to himself, and of his quiet, harmless granddaughter. Flames would fall from her own lips at times during the stories, her small face scrunched into scowls to mimic her grandfather. The small wisps were nothing of harm, but still they incited fear. The village leader, afraid of what the Ejderla Khan might do to them, decided they must end the threat before it could become one. Sneaking to the house in the dead of night, they intended to end the family while they slept. But they hadn't expected him to be awake, unable to sleep most nights because of the nightmares that plagued him, nightmares of his fallen brethren and the horrors he'd witnessed during the war. He had just enough time to hide his granddaughter away in a cubby he'd crafted for this very purpose when he feared that his children would someday be in the same danger. But by the time he'd stowed the girl away, her parents had been murdered, along with the other inhabitants of the home, and he was left as the last man standing once again. His children, innocent, never having seen war nor bloodshed, dead before his feet and his wife slaughtered in front of his eyes. Hatred burned in his heart, the flames of the dragon rising to the surface for the first time in over a century. The vengeance that struck forth was foreign to him, but he allowed it to guide him as he fought to protect himself, to protect her. He wanted to be able to save at least one person whom he loved. But time and old age couldn't be fought. He'd grown complacent in his life and no longer held the strength he had before. He stood no chance against so many, his old body giving out as the men of the village felled him and interrogated him, searching for his granddaughter. They wanted to end the bloodline completely, rid the world of the risk, end the life of his precious Torun. Rage overtook him again, his eyes meeting hers through the small crack in the wood that hid her from the men. The flames would do her no harm. With the help of the dragon's soul within him, of his trusted comrade, he brought the house down in flames to end the lives of the men who threatened the life of the last Ejderla Khan. That was just that bit. Made you so emotional. I have one more for you. Let's see, what is this one? Chess pieces are very symbolic. Lost my grandmother earlier this year. She used to tell me stories like this, including ones about her mother, my great grandmother, who was a freedom fighter. Oh. The chess pieces are really symbolic in this story. So here's another one. I'll do this one and then I really do have to end because I really do have to get ready for therapy. But I like sharing this. Grandfather reminded me of her. The grandfather, I enjoyed writing the grandfather. I think I will say that bit I just read was one of the very first things I wrote for the story. Like, I think it was maybe the second or third thing that I wrote for the story. This is another part. So the chess pieces, again, they're very symbolic of characters in the story. So this is another piece. The timelines are also like very the narrative is a little bit back and forth with the timeline and stuff like that. I think this part actually is earlier in the story, if I remember correctly. The feeling of being watched unsettled her, to say the least. She'd learned at a young age to trust her instincts. The world was a hostile place, especially for someone like her. Flexing her hands, she felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end as she moved through the small village streets quickly, knowing a pair of eyes were watching her. It caused her to pull her scarf tighter. It wasn't often that she felt afraid, but after having been followed for a few weeks with no sign of what it was, uneasiness was beginning to turn into wariness and fear. She paused at a small stand, assessing the fruit as she fought the urge to look over her shoulder. Though the region wasn't known for its chill even during winter months, it was an uncharacteristically chilly day, and she was able to move through the crowds without detection or anyone the wiser. It was a risk, a foolish one. She knew they would scold her. It was a risk, a foolish risk. She knew they would reprimand her for to be in this region. But something had drawn her here, unable to resist the pull. A decision she had immediately regretted once she'd felt something watching her when she entered the region. For the first few days, she had ignored the presence, opting to believe that it would grow bored. That had been over 27 days ago. Now, she was growing tired, especially since she had felt the presence grow stronger when she entered the small village a few days prior. Whatever it was had grown bolder. Still, no matter how often her sharp eyes searched, she found nothing out of place or anyone who seemed to be following her. The old woman at the fruit stand smiled warmly up at her from her stool, asking if she was enjoying her time visiting. Giving a small nod, she hesitantly returned the smile, thanking the woman and quickly moving on. It was time to leave the region. Whatever was following her could easily become a threat, and she had tempted fate too long by staying near it. But part of her also wanted to know what it was. What was brave enough to follow her? Leaving the village, she chose the smaller paths she knew few traveled due to the danger. The threat of Yulhaya, who would drive men insane as they traversed unknown paths, ultimately leading them to their demise, kept many from traversing the small route. Fewer humans, she hoped, would prompt her pursuit to show itself. The presence drew closer as she moved further from the village. When she was far enough that she knew no humans would hear, she stopped and clenched her jaw. "I don't much like being followed," she said quietly, knowing it would hear, or watched. "Show yourself." Her words were met with silence, but she knew it had heard, and could feel the change in the energy as it drew nearer. "I must say that I'm surprised." The voice matched hers in volume, and she turned to see the figure standing a few meters away, leaning against a tree alongside the path. Blonde hair fell low enough on his forehead to conceal it, though she knew there was no need. He could conceal it with other ways easily, but he wanted to seem like he didn't know how. The third eye peeked out from under the mess of hair, blinking lazily, independently of his human ones, as he stared at her calmly. "I've never seen your kind firsthand before," she stated as he smiled at her. He was young. She could tell by his eye the yellow iris that blinked down at her was dark, meaning that he couldn't be much older than a teenager. But he was powerful if he'd been able to see her. "How did you see me?" she asked cautiously, eyes watching his every movement as he pushed away from the tree. "And why? What business would you have with me?" "I sensed you entering the region," the man said, holding his hands up in surrender. "I was simply curious. Your kind are said to be extinct. I wanted to see for myself if you were what you seemed, but I thought I had concealed my presence." Her eyes narrowed as he spoke, defenses spiking. If he'd told anyone of her— "Who have you told of me?" she hissed, her palms igniting, a foolish risk. She could hear their voices in her head now, scolding her for even nearing this region when she knew how dangerous it could be. The young seer standing before her was proof enough of that. "Who knows I'm here?" To his credit, the seer looked startled, stumbling back a few steps. "No one," he said quickly. "No one knows of you. I told no one. I followed you because I wanted to see for myself. No one knows where I am." Her eyes narrowed in suspicion, watching him closely as he fidgeted. "It was foolish of you to follow me," she said, glaring at him. His presence was dangerous, but if he was being truthful, then he was little threat. Seers weren't known for their physical strength or combat, and if no others knew, there was no reason for her to worry about more following her. She slowly extinguished the flames in her hands. "Why did you follow me?" she finally asked. "Curiosity is one thing, but you told no one else of me? Why? What do you want?" He continued to fidget, and she released a small huff of smoke when his movement revealed part of his chest. It was quick, the glimpse she got, but it was enough to distinguish the mark. "Gorus," she muttered. "Gorush," she muttered, her eyes narrowing again. He froze as she spoke, his eyes darting to her face as she grit her teeth. "You lied." Raising her hand, she let the flames free again as he stumbled away with his hands in front of him defensively. "I mean no harm," he cried, backing away as she advanced. "Please, believe me, I mean you no harm." "Then tell me the truth," she hissed. cutting his path off. Tell me what the Cecil... I can't remember how to pronounce this. I have a key for myself later, but tell me what the Cecil Mish Gorush could possibly want with me. At his confusion, she snarled, "Don't attempt to conceal it from me any longer. I know you're kind. What does the High Council want with me?" "Nothing. The Council doesn't know I'm here." "Liar," she snarled. "The Council wouldn't let you. They can't see you," he cried, cutting her off. "Only I can. No other can see you." His words made her pause, staring at him as he straightened and brushed his shirt off. "Then why can you see me?" she pressed, her eyes brightening as he moved closer again. "If the Council can't see me, then how can you? Why is the Seshelmish Gorush following me?" His third eye blinked calmly as he reached her, standing mere inches from her now. "Because I've seen your destiny," he replied confidently. "I saw it as a child, and I've known this day would come for many years. I've looked forward to meeting you. Why? Why would a seer be shown my destiny?" He smiled at her fondly, third eye opening wide to stare at her, unblinking as he observed her. "Because I will have part in it." And that's all I got, because I have to go. I hope you enjoyed that. Today was interesting. We didn't really do much, but we just kind of chilled and chatted. I should be back tomorrow. Possibly, depends on how work goes, but yeah. Tomorrow will be started. Next stream, whenever it is, whether it is tomorrow or Thursday, it will be stardew again. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening and for being here. Yeah, I have therapy, and so yeah. But thanks, guys. Thanks for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. Next stream again, we will be back to stardew. We will be back to Rinko and Satoru. Yeah, I will see you guys then. Have a good rest of your day, night, morning, evening, any of those. And you have a happy birthday and a great year. Thank you. I will try. I will try to have a good rest of my day. And try to keep this year on the up. Yeah. Anyway, see you guys later. Thank you again. And bye-bye.